The Game Day 1 football preview show is brought to you by Veolia and White Plains Hospital. The postseason is here. We now bring you our Class A preview show brought to you by Veolia and White Plains Hospital. I want to thank them for their partnership all season long. What they've done for Game Day 1, what they've done for high school sports has been truly special. Class A might be the most exciting bracket, mainly because of what is probably waiting at the end, which was going to be that Rice Somers Championship. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's take a look at the entire bracket. Obviously, two teams in Class A, two leagues in Class A. They're going to cross over for the first round. There's going to be reseeding depending on matchups and the way things break. Before we get into our bracket, obviously, it's been Somers last few seasons in Class A, Rye down in Class B. They both are defending state champions, and they head in here as the clear favorites to play for the championship. But let's look back in the regular season and talk about our MV3s, our three best players who stood out in the regular season. Now, this is so hard because when you look at the rosters of Ryan Somers, you could pick about 5 guys to represent them in each. But I'm going to go with my first MV3 is going to go to Miguel Iglesias of Somers. The quarterback takes over. We all knew Mason Kelly was All-State last year. Dean Palazzolo was All-State last year. Miguel Iglesias, huge shoes to fill. The last two quarterbacks in front of him won state championships, and now here he is, and he's gone out, and he's had as good of a regular season as Matt Fitzsimons, and Max Sullivan had in their regular seasons at Somers. Just phenomenal throwing the football, running the ball. He is so good. There's certain things that he does. The way he could throw on the run, hit Palazzolo, and hit him in stride. The numbers all season long have been solid, been about 150 to 200 yards passing, sometimes over 200 yards passing every game. He's run a little bit. I think he could run a little bit more in the playoffs. I think we're going to see a little bit different dimensions to them, to Somers as they get into the postseason. I imagine they've been holding some things. So this Somers team with Miguel Iglesias is in very good hands. Next, our next MV3. Now listen, I knew Tyler Galante was good. I don't know if you can really draw conclusions about somebody watching them just because they did a backflip at Media Day like they did. But Tyler Galante's athleticism is so special, and we've seen it on full display in the regular season with how he's caught the football. He set a school record for touchdown receptions. He set a school record for receptions. These all happened last week. His numbers, 40 catches, 601 yards, 9 touchdowns. Just a dynamic all-around athlete. And then you're taking into account what he can do on special teams and on defense. All around, Tyler Galante has probably meant more to Yorktown than any player has meant to their team in Class A. Caden Gonzalez, obviously the quarterback, is so special, but Galante has taken Yorktown and put them in the conversation with the Rye and with the Somers to compete for a section championship. And our third MV3 for Class A, Jake Kessner of Rye. So good. I just feel when I watched him last week, the little things that he does, the way he's able to pick up pressure in pass protection, the way he's able to get downfield, kind of camp his body out. He's got like a Gronk-like presence on the field, and he's able to get these short passes. When you look at his numbers this year, they don't totally jump out. He has 28 catches, but for 362 yards and 4 touchdowns. A lot of those catches are 8, 9-yard catches over the middle for first downs. They move. He is the chain mover of Section 1 Class A football, maybe of all Section 1 football, and he does it as a receiving tight end. I don't think I've ever seen a tight end in this area kind of change a game the way he can on offense. And then defensively, there's nobody better. He is so good on the defensive end side, and wherever he lines up, he needs to be double teamed. He's in on every play. He's pushing piles backwards. He made it impossible to run for Harrison last week, and Harrison's been a very good running team all season long. So my next MV3 is Jake Kessner. Now, another name to watch in the Class A playoffs, I'm going to take Mayapac's Jack Clifford. Now, I think Mayapac is going to be a popular pick to be an upset team with Harrison coming off that Rye loss. Harrison's obviously dealing with injuries. They are so good on the defensive front. Teams that can get to the perimeter, it's the only way to beat Harrison, and Jack Clifford gives Mayapac an opportunity to do that. You look at his numbers this year, Clifford has been just over 700 yards rushing on the season. He's had some monster games against Lakeland last week. 2 weeks ago, he was so good. I think Jack Clifford gives Mayapac what they need. That's a good matchup against Harrison for this Mayapac team. I like Mayapac's Jack Clifford to possibly lead them. Now, let's look at GameDay Guardians. And Guardians is a tough one in Class A because Ryan Somers, right? They're both offensive lines have been so good. What I saw last week with Rye and their offensive line and what they're able to do to manage the defensive front of Harrison leads me to believe that they're the best offensive line, or at least they've been the best offensive line in the regular season, led by Patty McGuire. I think this unit is protection-wise. They give Carson Boone-Miller has so much time to throw the football. He's put up monster numbers this year. Second leading passer in Section 1, and I think it's all because of this, how good this offensive line has been. Next up is our Coach of the Year in this one. This is tough because I think a lot of these coaches have all done really good jobs to get into the postseason. I'm going to give it to Ed Mulvihill at Brewster. They've had a couple tough seasons. They've really kind of had some injuries that have plagued them last couple of years. He's kept things together with this program, and I think he's done a really good job this year. They almost had a chance to beat Yorktown last week, which would have given them the number 2 seed at home. I think Brewster is a very dangerous team going into the Section 1 playoffs. Now, the championship pick, the pre-tournament championship pick. This is all subject to change. Obviously, Ryan Somers didn't play in the regular season. I don't see anybody beating them, either one of them going to the championship game. They're going to play for the Section 1 title, for the right to go to the state tournament, and the winner is probably going to be a considerable favorite to win the state championship. So you can say this is basically the state championship game. Somers is so good. I think Rye last week showed a little vulnerability on both sides of the ball. I think Somers' explosiveness, I think they're going to have a hard time, Rye, shutting down Dean Palazzolo and Mason Kelly and the receiver. They have a lot of good receivers in the Somers team. I think the championship pedigree, the experience this team has, the offensive line has come along, the defensive line has played well. I just think Somers right now is a little bit more of a complete team. I'm looking at maybe double overtime to play for a section championship. Going to be a very special game, going to be a very special postseason. Thank you for watching. Playoffs, they're coming up this week.